podcast, MSD, Combating Enemy Fighting Arts. Combating enemy fighting arts has always been a part of our elite forces close quarters combat. Obviously, the skills taught on CQB, CQC and MSD courses have been developed to combat all forms of enemy close combat threats. However, combating enemy fighting arts is to familiarise the combatant with enemy stand-up, clinching and ground fighting styles for familiarisation, threat recognition, and also in threat neutralisation decision making. Familiarisation with enemy fighting arts provides the capability to recognise specific techniques, executions, including setups like duck unders or leg attacks, and be able to confidently prevent them, or if they are successfully employed, counter-engage. It also promotes soft target identification and targeting from wide-ranging positions, including upright, in the clinch, incoming threats, and on the ground as part of enemy takedowns and throws, strangles and chokes, body and head holds, and in wide-ranging positions and situations you may find yourself in. Being able to effectively identify exposed soft targets and attack them provides an effective means of stopping your enemy in their tracks. There are two forms of combating enemy fighting styles, means and methods of threat neutralisation, armed and unarmed. For lethal actions on battlefield close combat, the best means, most effective, quickest and most terminal would be armed methods of enemy threat neutralisation, ranging from the combatant's primary weapon to backup weapon, edged weapon, bludgeon type weapons, including trench warfare, club type weapons, and improvised weapons. These options are as guaranteed as it gets, as terminal as it gets, and have no respect for an enemy's fighting styles or arts prowess. They are simply immediate overkill means of stopping an enemy in their tracks. CQC unarmed means of battlefield actions on threat neutralisation promote the targeting of soft, sensitive and life support targets, as well as destroying the means of maintaining an upright position or being able to execute fight techniques or escape actions. Non-ballistic weapons, including improvised weapons, are sharp edge, sharp point, hard surface, bludgeon type clubs and spikes, as well as improvised terrain provided weapons, including rocks, sticks, and a host of other environmental type weapons that can be used to effectively incapacitate or eliminate a formidable enemy foe on the battlefield. For urban operators, MSD type situations, unarmed skills include entry skills or targeting and combating with the enemy insecurely, as in when they are not seized, secured and contained, as well as securely when they have been seized, secured and contained. Multiple contacting of soft, sensitive or life support targets is the rule to employ until the enemy has been incapacitated or eliminated and the threat is completely neutralised. If the target becomes unavailable through the enemy protecting the target or moving the target out of harm's way, your focus would change to other delicate, sensitive human sensors or life support targets and to contacting them to incapacitate your enemy. Targeting and destroying the enemy's stability and mobility capabilities is a primary option, as the lead leg is the closest and most exposed bodily target, and your leg is your longest extremity, and your boot is far more resilient than your bare hands. Contact below the knee joint is the primary target area to destroy the ligaments of the knee joint or kneecap. This can be achieved by closing on the enemy as part of a stamp kick strategy, or after the enemy has been seized and secured by using opposing forces movement to maximize the effect of the stamp kick diagonally down and through the joint all the way to the ground. With closing stamp kick strategies, there are always deceptions, distractions, feints, foul and dirty tricks brigade, means of interfering with mental and visual focus, distracting their counter-engagement capabilities to maximize the chances of effective incapacitation by the destruction of the knee joint and kneecap ligaments. For battlefield threat neutralization, it may come down to initially incapacitation backed up by enemy elimination, simply because the enemy does not provide or offer exposed, clear access to the target, and as such, they need to be contacted with a strategy that includes deception, distraction, dirty tricks brigade tricks, and incapacitation skills, making them vulnerable to skills to eliminate the enemy threat. There is nothing about fair play, sport, or fighting arts prowess. This is all about maximum incapacitation and target destruction. The combat boot is a very important part of battlefield enemy fighting styles, prevention, combat, and counter-engagement measures, as the toe of the boot, as in boot spiking, and the heel of the boot, as in stamping, the sharp edge of the sole of the boot, and the arch of the boot all provide effective means of targeting the lower leg in stamp kicking employments and for elimination or incapacitation of a grounded enemy by heel stomping or toe kicking. Hard hands, as in close to point blank range, contact with hard thumbs, hard fingers, or hard side of the heel of the palm, contact of sensitive targets including life support targets by overkill, continued targeting until threat neutralization has been achieved, increase the chances of stopping a formidable foe. Seizing and securing the back of the head, the webbing, body armor, or the belt, and employing opposing forces, continuous contacting of these sensitive human anatomy vital targets is the modus operandi to neutralize a formidable foe in a battlefield actions on. Seizing and securing of the head and neck must be stunning and potentially or possibly incapacitating in its own right, even before the hard hands, hard thumbs, or hard fingers, multiple targeting of sensitive targets have been employed. In European military close combat, there are close-range, unarmed offensive assault, as in striking with the hands and arms, combinations that include simultaneous, seamless targeting of soft, sensitive life support targets and systems. These combinations have been developed and designed to provide maximum destructive output in fluid actions that leave little chance of immediate enemy counter-engagement techniques executions. They utilize covert initiation, including masking the striking action, often being employed from under or outside the enemy's peripheral vision. Such combinations often involve the use of knee kicking or stamp kicking as part of a fluid action combination strategy to maximize destructive output and increase the chances of quick and silent enemy threat neutralization. The setup and initiation component of the skills execution is to overwhelm, disorientate, confuse the enemy to the point where their focus is on survival over counter-engagement, effecting respiration, vision, circulation, the maintaining of stability by destructive means, along with causing autonomic reactions by the targeting of sensitive life support vitals or human sensors, leads to the enemy being vulnerable and exposed to overkill, incapacitation. The employment of non-ballistic weapons, including improvised hard or sharp weapons, makes the achievement of enemy threat neutralization that much more guaranteed. Hard thumbs and fingers targeting the eyes, up the nostrils, the airway, all lessen the physicality requirements to achieve threat neutralization. Targeting the fork, yes, the crutch, the genitals, by hard impact or seizing, squeezing, twisting, and tearing actions affect an enemy's capability to continue with their fighting actions at that point in time. The mind follows pain, and excruciating pain reduces combative capability and sets in place a defensive or survival mentality over a combat or deliberate counteraction mentality. Instruction in how to use the terrain and environment, as in ground surfaces, debris, protrusions, hard surfaces, rocks, sticks, bricks, anything at your disposal that can be used effectively to achieve your objective, is all good and all fair in the no rules of kill or die battlefield close quarters combat actions on. Being trained in how to use everyday objects and implements effectively in targeting human anatomy targets is most important to maximize the chances of effective threat neutralization. For example, objects that are flat have edges, and the edges and corners should be used to maximize the effects of contact impact, not the flat surfaces. In unarmed, close to point-blank body contact range, skills executions, maximizing destructive output and minimizing the capability to counter-engage can be the difference between victory over defeat. Tradecraft skills, principles such as any strike that goes up should come down and should be able to provide effective target contact impact on the way up or down. Likewise, any strikes that go around should come back and be able to contact in both directions, including extending the striking limb or closing on the enemy during the unarmed skills execution. Simultaneous unarmed skills that target lower and upper quadrant targets, as well as upper and lower quadrant targets in a smooth, simultaneous action, reduce the chances of being contacted during the initiation and execution of such strategies. Combatants must be confident and competent in their personal hard targeting, hard cover guarding, effective counteractions, deflection, reducing target mass, maximizing stability, simultaneous self-protection combined with counter-engagement actions, and importantly, always employing military self-defense and military CQC, brain to boot, mental toughness as part of the execution of combat offensive actions and counter-offensive actions. Seizing, securing, jamming an enemy's extremities combined with continuous combat or counteractions maximize the chances of safe, effective threat neutralization. Seizing and securing can be stunning or can set up the achievement of stress positions where the enemy is vulnerable to ongoing threat neutralization, unarmed or armed actions employments. Biting and butting a seized and secure enemy that is locked in position enables effective incapacitation. Combating enemy fighting arts or fighting styles also involves undertaking familiarization training with traditional or sporting, striking or kicking skills, as well as grappling or wrestling skills. The combating of such traditional or sporting techniques is based on an understanding of what the enemy is attempting and the prevention of their objective or interference with the execution of their objective in a hard cover guard protective way, and as soon as their action has been interfered with or prevented, the targeting of their sensitive human bodily senses or life support systems by hard boots, hard hands, or by armed means are primary means of threat neutralization. Understanding how the enemy fighting art techniques work and how they are set up and employed provides the capability to combat them by attacking your attacker before they can attack you, or counter-engage once they have initiated their techniques, and always involves soft targets targeting. Combating enemy fighting arts includes the prevention of the effectiveness of punches, kicks, grabs, holds, throws and takedowns attempts, and ground combat. Understanding how to employ specific required hard targeting, heavy boots, stability, reduced target mass, resistance and yielding, and then identifying soft targets and employing multiple contacting of the target or other target if the initial target becomes covered or removed from the immediate actions on, provides a simple strategy based on assess, decide, and execute the targeting of human anatomy targets that will incapacitate or eliminate the actions on completely. Knowing when to resist, when to hold ground, when to yield, how to prevent the lift, push, pull, tackle by best of battle-proven foul, dirty tricks brigade means maximizes the combatant's chances of threat neutralization. In any clinch, hold, grab, or seizure situation, by identifying the closest, most available soft target by overkill means continuously targeting the soft target will make the execution of holding, throwing, or taking down techniques risky and can stop a formidable enemy in their tracks. an enemy pushing forward with hostilities will soon find out it's not a good idea when they are under soft target targeting. Similarly, an enemy using pulling force can be stopped in their tracks by the seizure, securing, squeezing, ringing, rotating, and pulling of sensitive bodily targets. The reasoning for continuous targeting and overkill is to deal with the type of enemy that is mentally tough, goal-driven, focused on causing you bodily harm, and needs to be stopped by overkill means that requires relentless, ruthless, deliberate, definite targeting of life support vitals and sensitive human anatomy targets. Understanding human reactions to soft targets contacting, as in autonomic reactions outside their control, and being prepared and ready to deal with such reactions, as well as deliberate responses of counter-engagement by an enemy having their soft targets contacted with, adds to the likelihood and increases the chances of stopping a formidable foe in their track. Knowing that contact actions, including setup actions, will cause specific directions of movement, and being able to immediately exploit the consequences of the employment of such actions as part of strategies of a setup, initiation, and continuous assault type, reduce or take away the enemy's reactionary, responsive fight capabilities. Combatants trained in both incapacitation and elimination skills have the capability to employ skills commensurate with the threat and in relation to rules of engagement and laws of self-defense. Take, for example, stamp kick executions being used by means of flexion to decentralize the enemy are not life-threatening, but will achieve a definite outcome. And hyperextension employments of stamp kicks will be pain-related and can destroy the joint ligaments, completely incapacitating the enemy by taking away their capability to regain their footing, escape, or employ counter-engagement techniques, and can be followed up with enemy threat elimination skills when they are on the ground, static and exposed. When two formidable combatants go at it in a close quarters combat actions on, there must be high levels of mental toughness and battle-proven means of hard targeting, self-protection to reduce the risk and increase the chances of being able to effectively target soft targets by hard contact, overkill means of threat neutralization. Battle dress including helmets, boots, body armor, webbing, and primary backup edged and bludgeon type weapons all maximize the combatant's chances of threat neutralization. In battlefield actions on kill or die situations, stamp kicks are not the only means and methods of stopping and dropping an enemy in their tracks. There are also military elite methods of spinal cord destruction that can immediately incapacitate or eliminate a formidable enemy. In an actions on, combating enemy fighting arts begins initially with familiarization with enemy techniques, then the instruction of our European military armed and unarmed combat methods of enemy fighting arts neutralization, moving on to being able to identify enemy fighting arts employments under battle handling exercises with all the factors of confusion present, including sudden aggressive shock actions, with the aim of, when being exposed to enemy fighting techniques, being able to prevent and combat or counter-engage the enemy attempt and effectively neutralize the enemy by best of tradecraft practices, combat or countermeasures. As a combatant, you are best at what your primary practices are and what you practice most of, adding to your capabilities, being able to identify enemy fighting techniques and being able to prevent them, stop them in their tracks, makes you that much more capable and provides a higher level of knowledge, and knowledge is power, combined with an uncompromising, mentally tough attitude, increases your chances of victory over defeat. Military, close quarters combat and military self-defense is less about fighting and more about taking your enemy out, stopping them in their tracks by foul, dirty or deadly means for the battlefield. This should not be confused with combat sports or the practicing of traditional fighting arts. as this could never be employed in competition and is meant for real-life actions on kill or die close combat. Combatants armed and skilled in the employment of skills commensurate with the laws of the land, including rules of engagement, can employ lesser skills than kill or die skills to neutralize threats in urban self-defense situations. Combating enemy fighting arts is an important part of our European military armed and unarmed combat, CQB, CQC and MSD training. This has been a part of military combatant training since the Great Wars, and my former instructors that were World War II chief instructors and senior instructors instructed me in such principles, and having knowledge of traditional and sporting enemy fighting arts increases a combatant's capability to quickly, quietly, effectively neutralize such enemy threats.